All right. I think we're going to begin because we have a lot of content to go over. So, welcome everybody to SOLIDWORKS Resources and Certification Tips and Tricks. My name is Ryan. I'm from the SOLIDWORKS EDU team, and I'll be your host today. In this webinar, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of content from classroom-ready resources to industry-recognized certification, and even some tips and tricks. So before we begin, make sure everybody you have it in full screen mode so you can see all the content. Please enter any questions you have in the questions area. We have a few colleagues that'll be monitoring those questions, and we'll try to get to many of them at the end as well. And a recording of this will be shared afterwards. We'll be putting it in multiple places afterwards, so don't worry about that either. So as I said, I'll be your host today, but I'll also be talking about a variety of things. My name is Ryan Kohler. I'm an industry process expert specialist for SOLIDWORKS in Education. We also have Brian Hillner for SOLIDWORKS Education, who is our senior portfolio manager. And we also have Marie Blanchard for SOLIDWORKS Education, who's an advocate for us, who's been working with us for many, many, many years. For the agenda, as I mentioned, this will be a full 60-minute webinar. We actually might run out of time with regards to content we want to show. We're going to start off with classroom-ready resources. Then we're going to jump into the power of certifications and talk about certifications and how those are done, as well as going into tips and tricks when it comes to certifications and some preparation for the exams. But for starters, Brian, I'll hand it off to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate the introduction. So I'd like to showcase some of our amazing classroom-ready resources that you can use right now in your classrooms to teach SOLIDWORKS at all levels, middle school all the way through university level. And we've spent the better part of, I don't know, Ryan, 18 months or so interviewing so many teachers and seeing how they like to teach, the type of learning materials that works best for them, and what their students respond to the most. And the result that we have to share with you is a plethora, yes, I did say plethora, of amazing SOLIDWORKS learning materials that you can insert directly into your curricula today. So for the next several slides, I'm going to showcase some exciting new content available today on our solidworks.com/curriculum website. And that's going to be the main jumping off point for all of the content that I'll discuss today. First off, we created a full semester-long SOLIDWORKS X Design Intro to CAD course. It's available right now, like I said, on solidworks.com/curriculum. And this course is perfectly structured for a classroom setting. It's broken up into several chapters for recommended teaching and includes an overview with suggested course pacing and even a grading rubric. Each chapter includes a teacher guide, lecture slides, student guide, assignments, practice exercises, and even a quiz. So you can go to solidworks.com/curriculum today to download this zip file, which includes the entire semester-long course and everything inside of it. And then you can even start using it with your own teacher role, which was a plug to a previous webinar that we did. And we'll also create this exact same course with SOLIDWORKS Desktop as well. And as a little sneak peek, here's what's inside that full semester-long course. It has 7 chapters in all to teach the basics of SOLIDWORKS and pass the almighty CSWA exam. More about exams and our amazing certifications in just a minute. So this can be used by teachers. This course can be used by teachers who are completely new to CAD or even seasoned educators looking to change it up. One of the main feedbacks we received from interviewing teachers is that they wanted flexibility. So that's why we've included the source PPT, so the source PowerPoint files, for you to use and edit as you wish to best suit your teaching or classroom needs. And that's the full PowerPoint for all of the content included in the course, the teacher guides, the lecture slides, the assignments, the quizzes, so you can have full flexibility to customize it as you wish. Now going back to that main website, we've also developed over 250 individual practice problems, perfect for any classroom teaching CAD. Now, these problems span all levels from basic part design all the way up to CSWA level challenges. They're perfect for teachers who just want to snag some problems to fill some gaps in their own lesson plans, or even for new teachers who want to maybe pepper them into their own curriculum creation. Now, each practice problem is a PDF with a drawing of an individual 3D model that has dimensions on it, and then recommended features to use. Now, the answers for teachers are a little volume in the upper right-hand side, and then you can mask that off or cut it off before you distribute it to your students. And basically, the student looks at the practice problem, sees the dimensions, and tries to build that exact component in SOLIDWORKS. Now, these 250 individual practice problems, they are divided up into 10 levels, level 1 through 10, right? That's how you progress through them. And they can be used for in-class activities or even homework assignments. Oh, and because these were so successful, they've been out since this past summer, we've actually developed 115 CSWP practice problems. And those are on the way, and that brings the total to 365 practice problems.
Brian, are you saying that I could do a practice problem every day of the
Yes,
year?
Ryan, that's exactly what we're saying, one per day. We should come
Awesome.
up with a new SolidWorks certification for somebody who actually does that one a day or something.
This 365, the 365-day cert.
I love it. I love it. So those are the practice problems. On top of that, again, because this is all about creating amazing classroom-ready content for you teachers out there. On top of that, we also created something that we're calling design projects, and we've created and posted 12 of those. Now, these are perfect for middle school and high school classrooms, and perfect for teachers who maybe want to change up their projects a little bit because they've been using the same ones year over year. These are short projects, some lasting a few hours, but obviously if you only have students, 1 hour a day or a couple hours a week, can last anywhere from 1 to 5 days for each project. And the cool thing is we designed these in a way where they always culminate with a 3D printed component for some cool instant gratification. The one we're showing here is a catapult, but we have a bridge, a car, 3D printed name tags. So it teaches students the basics of CAD, but also then gives them something really cool and tangible to have as they finish the project. These short projects include teacher guides, student handouts, and lecture slides, so you can continue to teach that project throughout the class if you choose to do it as like an in-class activity. And they're all designed to be easy plug and play into your existing curricula. And what's really cool is with each of these 12 design projects, we've also included a full feature YouTube video and a complete step-by-step guide to follow along. And again, there's 12 of those that are on that website. Now, speaking of step-by-step guides, we also created 2 dedicated learning paths available on that same website. One dedicated for SolidWorks Desktop and another one dedicated for SolidWorks X Design. Now, they're self-guided, step-by-step learning, and they're perfect to follow along at your own pace or part of a class, or you can even have these as homework assignments too. Now, these are 10 levels long, and each have 4 practice problems per level. And each practice problem has a short GIF with written steps and even a full video so you can follow along with the learning style that best suits your learning. And the best part is, after you finish all 10 levels, you can take and pass the all-important CSWA exam. And these step-by-step learnings are also created using the first 4 practice problems of each level. So you see how it's all connected there? Those 250 practice problems spanning 10 levels, we took the first 4 from each level and created this full-on step-by-step learning for each of those first 4 practice problems. So now we have 40, yes, 40 practice problems for you to follow along in this handheld guided step-by-step format. And again, we have this completed for SolidWorks Desktop or even for SolidWorks X Design as well. Oh, and we'll also have 8 CSWP levels coming soon, which will match those 115 new CSWP practice problems. So we're trying to weave everything together for all of you. We've got the full-on course to teach SOLIDWORKS Intro to CAD for X Design. We've got those amazing, now soon to be 365, but now 250 individual practice problems. We've got those 12 design projects and these 2 dedicated step-by-step learning paths for you to use to teach SOLIDWORKS to your students. Before I turn it over to Ryan, though, I would like to remind all of you about something that is extremely important. Oftentimes, when we're talking to teachers, we find out that they don't realize all the amazing benefits that you get when you're on active subscription on SOLIDWORKS. So when you're on active subscription, you have access to software and releases, so automatic access to our annual SOLIDWORKS Education Edition release, plus those multiple service packs throughout the year. You have access to local technical support. That's direct access to your SOLIDWORKS partner or reseller who can help you with installations, licensing, troubleshooting, or upgrades, and so much more. This one's really important. You have your SOLIDWORKS home access. So what this is available for students and teachers to continue to use SOLIDWORKS outside the computer lab, anytime, anywhere, at home, day or night. So that's when you're on subscription, each school gets a unique serial number to give to their students, so their students can then install SOLIDWORKS on their home machines or school-given machines that the students can use outside the classroom as well. You also get access when you're on subscription to our amazing industry-recognized certifications. You get free vouchers for those amazing industry-recognized certification exams like the CSWA, CSWP, and so much more, which Ryan will talk about in just a minute. You also have access to our extensive online training with mysolidworks.com, where you'll have hours of training content and tutorials that cover the basics of SOLIDWORKS all the way through advanced topics. And also some certification prep courses are there as well. And last but not least, classroom-ready resources, even more than what I've just mentioned today, to unlock and teach the full fundamentals of CAD simulation and electrical as well. Cool, that's it from me. Back over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Brian. And normally we wait till the end, but there was 2 good questions, Brian, I saw in the chat that I wanted to talk about real quick after going through resources.
Sure.
One of them is the step-by-step stuff. What's that cost? Or do I need to be on subs? Or how do I get access to that?
All these amazing step-by-step learning paths. Well, guess what? They're free. They're right here online, solidworks.com/curriculum. All you need is a 3D Experience ID to sign up and access.
Amazing. And then the other one is when, I know we probably don't have any specific dates, but when are we thinking about going live with the CSWP stuff? Is that sooner, later? What are we thinking?
I would like to say before the end of 2025.
Ooh. So you're saying 115 more problems and 8 levels of 4 more problems coming out soon.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Those are great ones I figured we'd bring up right now.
Sure, of course.
All right. So let's hop on to the power certifications, and I'll be going through this content and then into tips and tricks. Brian, if you hop to the next slide. Awesome. So before we dive in, just want to do a quick reminder that SOLIDWORKS is anywhere and everywhere the students, teachers, and even professionals work. You can see these latest numbers we did from LinkedIn showing these crazy high numbers available for jobs postings that are on that website. Now, this is just one website, but basically what we're saying is a lot of our software and content is extremely valuable when it comes to the workplace, specifically when it comes to certifications, and that's why we're going to talk about it. Now, to show this in a little more detail, I'm going to steal the screen from Brian. One moment. All right. Everybody should be able to see that. So I don't want you to take my word for it. I'm literally on Indeed.com right now. and I'm just going to type in SolidWorks. Now this is just the United States because that's where I live. But you can see here there's over 22,000 plus jobs posting that are looking for SolidWorks skills. So once again, don't trust us. Do it yourself. I'm not going to search the competitors right now because that probably wouldn't be fair, but there's a guarantee almost that we're going to have more job postings than any other software out there. So look yourself, go take a look, and you'll see a lot more than you expect in your regions. I guarantee it. Now, if we were to jump in and take a little bit more, let's talk about certifications. So Brian mentioned we have a lot of learning content when it comes to certifications. We also have almost 1 million certified users worldwide when it comes to our certifications. Now, for academia, Brian also mentioned we have a lot of information with regards to and content when it comes to what we include with our subscription. For those teachers out there, two key things that Brian mentioned. One is that home use license that students can use at home, and the second thing is certification. So for any school that purchases a network of SolidWorks, you get 1-to-1. So let's say an example, you bought 100 seats of SolidWorks. You get 100 of our associate, 100 of our professional, 100 of all of our advanced CSWP exams, pretty much everything besides the expert level. The expert level we give separately, and there is a way to get it, but we only give it to people that have qualified and have done all the prerequisites beforehand. But this gets topped off every year. So if you're a student here and you're at a school right now that uses SolidWorks, you can get certifications for free. If you're a teacher that's teaching and you weren't aware of this, don't worry. And this is only for teachers. So I know there's a lot of students here, but don't do this because you're not going to get access. But you can actually click on here to sign up as a provider. And for those teachers, you can basically sign up with your information. We will verify who you are, and we will basically allow you to get access to give certifications to your students. Now, the next question would be, what does that look like? What does it look like to give certifications to students? So we have a website called 3dexperience.virtualtester.com. This is our testing company we work with. We don't own them, but we work directly with them. On this site, you would basically go to your account. As a teacher, you can go to this section called Your Credits. Now, it's super simple to allow your students to take exams. All you have to do is pick the exam you want. Yours would say create exam. It wouldn't say voucher, it would say opportunity. You would put the students' email addresses in here. Now it is tied directly to the domain of the school. That way, you're not using Gmail accounts when you're out of school, you're using like the school's actual domain. And you would choose a tracking tag so you can take a look at the results after. And then from there, you would choose, when is it going to expire? And this would allow each student that you added here to take the exam once during that time frame. Now, once that's done, you want to look at results and see how your students did. Now, there's a team info tab where if I go down here, you can see I can look at information for people that have taken the exams underneath me, and I can see how they did on the exams. Now, from here, let's say you're a teacher, and let's say you didn't spend a lot of time on assemblies. Well, you could easily scale your grade and make sure that it's appropriate for what you did teach in class. Or if you want to export the results and see everything for them, you can do that as well. Now, for the students that are here, this website is also students, and actually, if there's anybody from industry or researchers, there is actually a really good system in here for the student to actually add whether they are certified or not to the website for customers to actually take a look. So if you want to use, your LinkedIn profile or anything else for information, you could actually go down here, and I'm just going to do United States for now. But I can choose the United States. Let's say I'm actually in New Hampshire right now. Let's see how many people are certified in New Hampshire. So there's 1,447 users that have selected in the country, and this many specifically are visible. And some of these people actually put their LinkedIn profile directly connected to their certifications. And if I'm an employer and I'm looking for people that are certified, this is a great place to go. So for students, it's a great resume builder, but it's also a great way to get visibility. Now you can add these certifications to your LinkedIn profiles in other areas as well. So please make sure you take full advantage of that. And that's pretty much the process for teachers and students when it comes to certifications. Now, When it comes to the exam, I want to talk a little bit more detail about what the exam has. In this case, let's talk about the CSWA. There were a bunch of questions about the CSWP, and someone did mention, can't I just skip directly to CSWP? Technically, in commercial, you can. In education, we do require you, or it is one of our rules, you should be taking the CSWA first. It's a great stepping stone to prepare for the CSWP. I have both certifications, and I'll tell you, it did help with all the practice and the associate in order to get to the professional. But once again, if you're a student and you're at a university that has SOLIDWORKS, these are free for you. So make sure you talk to your professors and talk to your teachers about this as well. When it comes to the exam is not a short exam. So the first level is a 3-hour exam for the associate. Now, some teachers in here might think that's long, and I agree with you. Most people don't have their students for 3 hours at a time. Luckily, we give the option for schools to actually break this into a 2-part exam. So you can do a part 1 and a part 2 of the CSWA. Now, there's pros and cons to breaking it up. If you do the exam all at once, you need a 70% to pass, which means technically, if you weren't that great at assemblies, but you were great at everything else, you could probably pass the exam still. But if you're taking it in 2 parts, then you need 70% on both parts to pass the exam, which means that you need to be moderately good at everything. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't consider that an issue, but it's just a warning. If you are breaking it up, you have to think about how the exam is being done. Now, if you do fail a section of the exam, let's say it's a 2-part version, then technically you only need to retake that 1 part. Just like for those who have taken the CSWP, it's broken up into multiple parts, and you can just retake the section that you messed up on. Now, if you do fail an exam, a reminder that there is in education a 14-day retake period. So you have to wait 14 days to retake. Now, there are some exceptions. For example, if you had internet issues and the log files or something messed up, you can email our certification team and ask for that to be removed. And they will remove that block and you can retake the exam right away. Normally, that's not the case. Our system works very well, and we have log files that kind of proves what happened. So we will ask for those if something like that does happen. Now, for the teachers here, there's also the ability for students who require extra time, whether they have IEPs or any other thing they need in order to basically get extended time on exams. We do allow that as well. Now, all you need to do is create a virtual tester account on the site I showed before for testing, and then email us requesting that. And once you sign up as a provider, you will get an email from us with the email link that you need to reply to. So make sure you sign up as a provider first. So the exam goes through quite a bit of content. In this case, it goes through anything from sketch entities to linear and circular patterns to extrudes to lofts and other things that pop up as well. Actually, wait, I lied. Do I have the lofts? Oh, there is lofts, yes. Now, Brian mentioned earlier our practice problems. In those, I'd like to show that we broke this down into 10 individual levels for the associate level exam. In each one of these, there's actually the ability to take a look at, like, for example, the introduction. And in the introduction, you have the ability to actually see all the individual features that are expected to learn for that section. So if we take a look at the introduction for level 1, let's click start. As I scroll down, it's going to list all the different features I have, and we're actually going to show you an individual sketch or GIF or GIF, however you want to say it, for each individual part. We're also going to show the actual text of what to do for each thing. Now, one thing, someone did mention, what is the difference between Practice SOLIDWORKS 3D CAD and Practice SOLIDWORKS X-Design? For those who don't know, SOLIDWORKS X-Design is our cloud-based product. It's a different product from SOLIDWORKS, but it's 100% cloud-based. And Practice SOLIDWORKS 3D CAD is our normal SOLIDWORKS desktop product that many of you are aware of. So those are the differences between those. But these are going to show you individually all the features. And then when you go to the different practice problems, you're going to be able to go through and basically practice them step by step. Or actually, let me show that as well, because this is kind of nice to see. We wanted to make sure it was adapted to any type of learning style that you might have. So for many students, this is all you need to start going. You got your units, your material, you have your dimensions, you're good to go. For some students, you might want step by step. And this is just basically like a big scroll where you can go through step by step. You can see this, what happens. You need to click open SOLIDWORKS, new part, okay. And then you can watch actually a very short video just showing those specific steps. But as you move on further and further, you might get to parts where, oh, I want to look at the original part. Don't worry, it's always right there. And if you want to look at specifically maybe the sketch we're working on, they'll actually show you just the sketch for that section with, once again, all the individual steps and the ability to watch them. For those who like the YouTube style, we actually created a full YouTube style of it as well with the original part, where you can basically hear the audio and closed captioning to actually watch the video. So we've tried to make this as easy as possible for everybody. So let's skip on to the exam in a little more details. For those who have taken it before, let me open up one moment.
And don't forget those step-by-steps. We created 40 different ones, right? For the 4 practice problems for each of the 10 levels. So we have a lot there. Yep.
And for the actually, Brian, that's a really good point. For the teachers that are here, those problems actually increase in difficulty per section. So in 1.1 is actually easier than 1.2 and 1.3 and 1.4. So if you wanted to, as a student, if you're going through on your own and you pick it up pretty quickly, you could probably just go through 1.1 or 2.1 and so on, and you would actually be prepared for the exam. But on level 10, we actually made the problems actually more difficult than the CSWA exam. So you're actually over prepared. And that was part of the reason why we did it. We didn't want to under prepare you. We wanted to make sure you really knew what you were doing.
Yep. And then again, with those step-by-steps, Ryan, and maybe you were just about to say this, but we did 4 of those, right? And the first one could be an in-class assignment, and then the next couple could be homework assignments. So it's really super flexible for however the teacher wants to teach.
And of those 250 you mentioned, to add another thing, we're just going to keep doing this back and forth. It's perfect. So of the 250 for CSWA, 40, as Brian said, 40 of those are those 4 per level. The 210 extra are actually extra per level. So there might be like a 1.15 where it's just, now those aren't going to increase in difficulty after 0.4, but they will be additional problems that you're able to use and actually take a look at it. And actually, Brian, because I wanted to show it, I was going to go show it a little later, but I'll show it now. I actually have a few of them up right here.
Oh,
so
nice.
This is an example of what that PDF looks like for the additional practice problems. And you can see it as 1.1 through 1.4, which are on the step-by-step, but it also has additional below as well that go further and further. Some are harder, easier than others, but there's a good variety. Now on these, we're listing the unit type, we're listing the exam level, we're also listing like materials in some of them, and we're also suggesting, what you need to do to pass it. Now, for the teachers that are in here, don't worry if it shows the volume. You need to make sure that the students are actually doing the part fully. They're going to have to show you that the volume that they have is actually the right one. So just because it's here, it doesn't mean that they did it right. And the other thing to do is you can always add material to this, which will actually change it, and you'll have a different density, and you'll have a different mass for the part. So that's how the exam tests as well. But just to show you finally as well, the level 10 problems you can see here, I mean, this is actually the head of a sledgehammer. That's actually not the easiest part to make. It's a lot of minimal dimensions, but it's a lot of mirrors, a lot of patterns, and a lot of different things. So those are all in there as well. Now to talk about the exam is broken up in a few different parts. The associate level exam, we're going to focus on that for now. It's the first area is drafting competencies. So these are basically just identifying different types of drafting views, whether it's section view, a cropped out section, a detailed view, and so on. That's the first section of multiple choice. The next section is going to go into basic part creation and modification. So you're going to be creating a part and you're going to be modifying it and working on the part. After that, you're going to have advanced part modification, and then finally advanced part creation and modification, and then assemblies. Now, when you look at the actual exam, the way it's set up, you're going to get information for every single part of the exam. And I'm going to show this For those that are curious, I will dive into SOLIDWORKS and show this live. So on this part, we're going to be given a unit type. In this case, we're going to do millimeters. And we're also given a material, and we're also given specifically A, B, and C for global variables. And then it's going to make us choose from one of these, which is right. Now, for those who haven't taken the exam before, on these first ones, so if I have a part and it's the part creation, and then I'm going to have maybe one or two modifications afterwards, do not move on to the next modification until one of these answers is perfectly right or almost perfectly right. It could be a tiny bit off, but that's fine. I think it's plus or minus 1%. But one of these multiple choices will be exactly right. I've seen people that have like around 100, grams for their answer, but maybe one of the other ones is actually the right answer, or maybe they're at 950, but this one shows 939. Because you're getting partial credit, do not move on until your part is fully defined and it matches one of these. Because what's going to happen is when you modify it, you're going to be adding or removing material, and the system knows what you put in for an answer. Let's say you put in the 577. It knows how much material it's removing from the part for that next section. So it knows how off you should be based on that response. So you could get this one wrong, and you can get both modifications perfectly right. So you can get partial credit. But I highly suggest to not move on until one of these is right. And then you're likely going to get the rest of them correct. Because if you do them right, you're going to have a better chance of being within the plus or minus 1%. Now, obviously, as we go through, there's more modifications and more things. And then finally, we get to assembly parts, which I don't know if we're going to have time for assemblies, but I'm going to try to go through this first part pretty quickly. So, Brian, I know you've been taking a look at questions. Anything that pops up there from questions? Are we still doing pretty good?
There are some that have popped up about let's see here. How many times are students allowed to take the exams? And after
Infinite.
retake, infinite, okay.
Yeah, there's no limit to retakes, but there is a limit on how long you have to wait before retakes, which I mentioned was 14 days.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And with the 14 days, if you don't pass after 2 attempts, are you still able to retake beyond that?
Yeah, yeah. And if you took the exam like I took the exam back in like 2008, I think, I could also take it again if I wanted to, just update the date so it's more recent. Like you can take it again in the future if you want to make sure it has a new date on it. So there's no rules on that. You can do it. You can do it as much as you want.
Okay, that's good to know because the question came through about how long do the certifications hold value? Like, should you retake the exam every, X number of years, for example?
Honestly, I think that just comes down to like, how relevant it is to your current industry that you work in. If it's extremely relevant, and let's say you're going to switch jobs and you took it when you were an intern years ago, like I did, then yeah, it might be good to retake it so that it's a little bit newer. But when it comes to commercial, if you're at a company that uses SOLIDWORKS, they also give exams to the commercial employees for access as well. So you can get it through your company as well.
Nice. And I did mention that obviously as part of a benefit of being on active subscription, schools get access to loads of our amazing certification exam vouchers.
Yes.
Can teachers use those vouchers as well to take the exams?
Of course, I'd love it if they did. It's now one thing I will say is teachers, and this is I know some people don't like when I say this, but don't hold back your students just because you fail the exam. And what I mean by that is it's difficult to go from teaching mode into learning mode to take an exam in a time frame. So please just don't hold back. If you don't pass it the first time, that's fine, but make sure that the students still get the chance to take it, even though you might have not passed it, because students learn very quickly.
Cool. I think it's good, Ryan. You can keep continuing.
Awesome. All right, perfect. And then next 10 minutes here, I'm going to try to go through this and show a bunch of tips and tricks. So this is going to be a little bit of rapid fire, but thank you, Brian. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this first part here and just get the first one right. And I'm going to show you stuff along the way as I set this up. So what we're going to start off with is basically setting up the problem. Let me shift here to SOLIDWORKS. All right. So when I set up a problem for the CSWA, I think of four primary things. I think of the first most important thing is the actual units. I always change the units first right away. And then from there, I then work on it because I'm sure many teachers and many students here have had issues where they did it in one unit system and then they swapped later. The second thing I always do is I work on materials. And because usually on the exam, it's going to basically ask you to add apply a material. So then ask for the mass as the answer. Global variable is the next thing because it's always going to have A, B, and C, D, and so other, and other things on there for different variables for the actual unit, the actual measurements. And then finally, the origin. And what I'll do is let me just pop these up on the screen real quick so you can see it. So units, always do units first. Material, set the material. Global variables next, which is your A, B, and C dimensions that you're going to do. And then finally, if they do give an origin, then that means it's relevant. And then that means you should focus on it. If they don't do an origin, then don't worry about it. It's not relevant. So let me clear those. Let's take a look. Let's go back. So we're going to work on this part. We're going to make this in the front view, and I'm going to show you a few tricks on how to design this pretty quickly. Now, many of you might have tips and tricks that are faster than what I might do, and that's perfectly fine. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn more stuff. But I'll go through just the way that I know, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to open a new part. First thing I'm going to do is go down to the bottom right-hand corner, make sure I'm set to MMGS for millimeters because that's what the part had. For material, let's check real quick. The material for this part was AISI 1020 steel. Now, the important thing is the 0.0079 grams per millimeter cubed. That is what we need to make sure is right. So if I right-click a material, edit material, I'm going to see AISI 1020 steel, but there's also cold rolled. Now you'll see here cold rolled has a density of 7870 and AISI 1020 is 7900. So this is the one we want. Now, once again, it's probably only going to be a factor of 1% off, but if you can get the exact right density for material, that's going to make a difference. Then from there, I'm going to do global variables. Now, if you've never done global variables before, they're actually part of equations. There's two major ways to access them. I can go to tools and go down to equations, or I can right-click on equations on the feature manager and click manage equations. Now, in this case, I had an A, which was, we'll go back here, 81, 57, 43. So I have A, 81, I have B, 57, and I have C, or not C, C, which is 43. Now you might have noticed you can set these unit types in here to specific, but I'm not too worried. I'm just going to do this for now. And the nice thing is once you've added those, they've now added in here as ABC. And just to check real quick, yep, those are right. So now we're going to check and see if the origin matters. And if you look at this part, they're not pointing out the origin at all. So we're not worried about that. So we can skip over that. And for now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this so we can go through. So let's work through this. And I'm actually going to pop that on a separate screen real quick just so I can work through that. So I can do it a little bit faster. Let me play. So we're going to save our part. Just do a file, save as. And you can save it as anything you want. I think I have one in here. I'm just going to call it test 2. Save that. And then from there, once it's saved, I'm going to start working on the front view. So I'm going to right click and open the front plane, open a sketch on the front plane. Now this is where I'm going to start talking about some tips and tricks with regards to commands and mouse gestures and other things. One of my favorite commands is mouse gestures. For those who don't know, if you right click and hold your mouse and move it a little bit, you can pop up this wheel. Now, once you go through a section, it turns that on. And once you go through it again, it turns it off. So if you get quick at it, I can turn smart dimensions on without even you won't even see it, just turns on. Now, my other one, which I love, is the S key. The S key is great because what they've done in the past now, they've added also a search command. So I can press the S key, which is a shortcut key, and I can go find exactly what I want in here. Or if I don't know what I want, let's say I want a mirror function, but I'm not sure which one, I can actually type in mirror immediately, and I can find exactly what it is. Now, SOLIDWORKS will also show you where it is. So if I don't know where the mirror command is, I can actually click it, and it's actually going to bring my mouse directly to it and show you. And also, if you mouse over things, it's going to show you a little animation of what to do. Now, if I have something turned on, like the line function, and I don't want it on, or let's say for some reason I have a trim command open or something else, escape is your next favorite key. I always press escape usually like 2 or 3 times to make sure I'm out of any command. I will not leave SOLIDWORKS in the sketch mode, but I will leave any function I'm in. So usually 3 times max, and you pretty much exited out of anything. Now, one thing people do have an issue with, and many times when they're first learning SOLIDWORKS, they don't remember if they're inside a sketch or if they're inside features. I'm going to point out a few things real quick just so you know where you are. The first thing is on the bottom corner here, it says editing sketch 1. The second thing is you'll see that this bar is above sketch 1 because you're currently editing in it. Next, you'll see in the top right, it says exit sketch is turned on, basically being you can click that to leave the sketch. And also in the top right, you have the exit sketch symbol and the discard symbol. So there's quite a few ways to do that. Now, if I look at that part we had, if I look back at it one more time, technically speaking, if I drew a box here, I could actually make this entire part inside of a box, which would actually allow me to do the width of A and height of B. And then I can actually make the stuff with inside of it, which will actually constrain it, which will make it easier to kind of make sure everything fits right. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it inside, and then I'm going to use something called, I'm going to change it to construction geometry. So let me swap over again. So from here, I'm just going to turn on, go down, use mouse gestures and get a rectangle. Now, one notice, I am actually clicking, I'm not clicking and dragging, I'm clicking and moving and clicking again. And that's because I don't trust my mouse. For those gamers that are here, many of you probably use wired mouses because of the response time. It's the same thing with CAD. If for some reason it puts a tiny little square somewhere, rectangle, you're going to try to fully define your part and you're going to have issues, and you're going to find out later that a tiny little line was somewhere. For almost every command in SOLIDWORKS, you can click, let go, and click again. Or something I found out recently, you can actually click and hold and actually press right click to stop it, which I didn't know. So another option as well. So for here, I'm going to start adding equations to these lines to actually make it fit. Now, before that, some of you might have done something like this as well, where you lost the part. Another really good key binding is the F key, which is zoom to fit. You can make it easily come back on the screen. So before I start adding dimensions, I'm actually going to highlight this whole thing. And one note, does anybody notice that when you highlight from left to right, it's blue, and from right to left, it's green? If you didn't know, if you highlight from left to right, you have to fully get an item. So for example, I can get this left line area here, and it'll turn light blue because it's selected. Now, if I do it from right to left and do the same thing, I'm going to get all 3 of those lines because right to left selects anything that's inside the box.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. What?
Yes. Yep. So right to left is any partial connection it'll grab. So even if I do this top corner, I'll get those 2. And left to right is only things that are fully in there.
Wow. Worth the price of admission right there for me.
Exactly. Now, if I want to highlight all these, and if I don't move my mouse, I'll be able to actually convert these to reference geometry or construction geometry. You'll see this icon right here. So if I convert those, now they're dashed lines, and they're not going to extrude, but I can use them as references. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on Smart Dimensions, and I'm going to make this top one equal to A. Now, in order to do equations, just like in Excel, you have to type equals first. So if I type equals, I can go over to global variables and click on A, and you might notice that it does A quotation, and I can just add that in. And now I'm going to go a little quick on some of these because I know we're going to run out of time. And Marie, we got some stuff we want to talk about as well. Quotation B quotation. And then now we have this thing in the format we want. Now, the next thing, which is very simple, and I'm just going to show you guys these tricks. If I turn the line function on and if I don't click and drag and click one at a time, I can continuously add these individual pieces. Now, on that sketch, on that part, there was actually an arc right here. If I move away from the point and go back to it and go back up, it actually automatically does the tangent arc to that line. And then I can work my way around and I can basically add these dimension ins. Always be careful about center points on lines. And you can basically work your way around. And then here, this is where we're actually going to have two arcs, but because they're different types of arcs, we're actually going to do the S key and we're going to change it to a 3-point arc. Now, this one's a little tricky. The center point of this arc is actually on that right line, but a little trick. If you move to the center of a 3-point arc, it's actually a lot easier to control and move. If you go to the outside edges, it's actually harder. And then I can add another one in, and then finally go back to line, or for those who like shortcuts, you can press the L key, and then it's moderately in the shape we want. And we can move things around and change them and so on. But the nice thing with this, because I boxed it, I know it's exactly the right dimensions on the outside edges. Now I can work my way around and add all these dimensions. One key thing I want to talk about before we jump to the next section, and we can do another one of these in the future if enough people want it. But when you're working with these individual relations, I always hold down Control, click the two I want, and if I don't move my mouse and let go of Control, it actually pops up right next to my mouse. Now, the cool trick too is if you want to add a tangent relation, you can also click the point between two. So you don't actually have to click the actual two segments. You can just click the point between the two things you want tangent. And then, for example, in this one, I want this on this line, not the center point, but the line. So if I click the point, hold down Control, click the line and let go, I can make those two coincident. Now, there's a lot more we can show. We can do another one of these webinars in the future, but I just wanted to show a little bit of these tips and tricks. For example, like the space bar brings up the view orientation menu where you can switch easily to isometric or trimetric view. And then the other one I really like, if I'm working on this part or this sketch and I want it to be normal to, I can press Control 8, which goes normal to. And if I want to go back to isometric, I press Control 7. Now, the nice thing with this, Control 8 and Control 7, those are the only two I really need to use, and I can get pretty much every view I want. Because if I was doing the top view and I was creating a sketch on the top view and I had a sketch open, I could just click on it and press Control 8 and it'll go normal to. So there's a lot of cool little functions you can do in here, as well as customization. For those who really like that mouse gestures, you can actually go here and actually change it up to 8 gestures or 12 gestures, the more you get. I like to keep mine simple, so I keep it at 4. But yeah, there's a lot we can do in here. So we'll probably do another one of these in the future to go through more details of actually going through this entire problem. But we wanted to show you a little bit about tips and tricks, working through these problems to kind of show you different features you can use to make stuff quickly. But for now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn it over to our colleague, Marie Blanchard, to talk a little bit about some of the things that she's been working on.
Thank you, Brian and Brian. I am excited to say that as of tomorrow, I will be 20 years with SOLIDWORKS. And my purpose since the beginning of time is to focus on educators and making the tools easy for educators to use. My career before SOLIDWORKS involved teaching at Mass Bay Community College with a fantastic colleague, Marina Bograd, who I know is on this call. And we were forced, I won't say forced, but students came to the community college to A, either get a job, or B, transfer to a four-year university. And that is why teaching skills like SOLIDWORKS have paid off. Teachers ask me, educators ask me, do you use it as a midterm, a final, a quiz? It can be anything. It could be extra credit. Some schools give them in a career center, a library resource center, as long as they're proctored. And there is an educator who applies to become a provider with subscription services. We are ready to take on more students. I will say the other big question, okay, that I have been asked is why don't you water it down? I have to reiterate, with 950,000 certified users out there, we cannot make these exams simpler. They are industry standard exams. We worked with many companies to develop these exams, which includes being able to read a drawing, create and modify a part in assembly without messing things up. This is really important. And I look at another one of my colleagues I see online, Lynette Fry at Southeast Community College. Here is a community college in the middle of the United States in Nebraska that has global industry recruiters coming to get her students, her graduates that have these certification skills and so many others. And then I know there's researchers on this call. Why would a research institution, a four-year university, want to give certification? You could Google the University of Idaho to find out why. They provide the most number of our advanced exams to their students. This is the CSWP, sheet metal, simulation, advanced drawings, mold design, surfacing. And every week, those students are pushing to do another type of certification with a strong component in a manufacturing facility where they are learning the hands-on skills. I also look on this call is a wonderful colleague that I've known for 20 years, Eric Beatty. Eric started off in community college teaching, then the University of Washington, ended up working for OMAC Scale as PDM design and becoming an advocate in the SolidWorks community as a leader. And Eric, over the years, has built exam after exam to become a CSWE and a SolidWorks champion. Even myself, I had to take 5 certification exams last year in finite element analysis and fluid flow analysis. And it's all part of this lifelong learning that you can give your students for free. So don't hesitate, because there are ways to give this exam. You know you have those alpha students who want to do more. I know that from Cherry Creek and Monroe and all around the world. This exam is given in 13 languages. I know the audience today is primarily US, but we have many countries represented, and our VARs, because our value-added resellers, because this is so important to our commercial customers, also gives classes in certification, and so too does our SolidWorks user community through the user group network. So thank you, Ryan and Brian, for allowing me to be here, and maybe we can answer a couple of questions.
Thank you so much, Marie. I know you've always been so helpful over the years with everything we've worked on, and I'm sure most people here have heard your name at one point. So, no, thank you so much.
Exactly. And congratulations on the 20 years, Marie. 2 decades.
Yeah. 2 decades. Yeah. Well, I don't have to answer the question anymore. When I first started, what kind of drafting tool do you have?
Hey, I mean, I was your intern at 1.2, and now we're here hanging out doing webinars, so it's great.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Ryan, because my interns, even from Mass Bay, we got Mark and Dave, they got certified. They're now working for SolidWorks, and so many companies around the world, and they come up to us at events, and now they're the mentors, right? They're the industry professionals, and oh, I got certified. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's awesome. It's so great. As you said, we're almost at 1 million. So we're pretty close to 1 million certified, 1 million certifications worldwide. Well, once again, thanks for joining this webinar. We really appreciate your time and look forward to more webinars in the future. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.